Hello everybody, call me Charlie or Radish, they're just made up words from letters making sounds which mean nothing. I'm not wearing a mask, so we're not going to talk about it. In this video, welcome to part 2. Oh, backwards a bit, I feel like I'm way too close to the iPad. Morute to part 2 of Unknown Aesthetics, where the 3 aesthetics we are covering is Hauntology, Lunarpunk, and Morute. I don't really know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But before we get into that, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that I'd love to bring up how in the new Tomodachi Life game, I've created little characters for every aesthetic I cover. As I make more of these videos, more guys will come and live in the island. Right now I've made Fruitiga Aqua, Eco, Starflesh and Shoe Diva, but their designs will probably be updated over time as well as more people being added. The bad news is at the end of the video, so you just have to watch to find out. Okay, now let's get into the video. The first aesthetic, Hauntology. This was a bit hard to research because hauntology is also a philosophy, but the aesthetic explores the concept of lost futures, developing in the 2000s primarily among British electronic musicians. The aesthetic has a distinct focus on specific post-war British cultural artifacts from the 1970s, which evoke some kind of sense of eerie, melancholic nostalgia for a future that never happened. A lot like another aesthetic I'm doing. Or did. Which was instead replaced by cultural and economic failure. The term hauntology was first coined by a French philosopher called Jacques Derrida in his book The Spectre of Marx in 1993, describing how Marx and his revolutionary ideals keep influencing, or haunting, society long after his death. The study of hauntology as an aesthetic and subject of cultural theory began with underground British electronic music, most popularly associated with artists such as The Caretaker and Burial, with the former rising to fame in the late 2010s from his experimental albums An Empty Bliss Beyond This World and Everywhere at the End of Time, both exploring memory and dementia through sampling pre-World War II ballroom music. It's I'm pretty sure if I played some, you'd probably recognise it. He made a massive cultural impact. Visually, hauntology contains low-budget 1970s media, which reflects the idea of memory decay. The aesthetic often features brutalist architecture, once beacons of social planning, but now monolithic and decaying. The style heavily relies on old public information films, or PIFs, and children's educational programs, with mute colour palettes with dull greens and yellows, grainy film and ambiguous graphics, which create a sense of unsettlement. The visuals deliberately show obsolete media, such as VHS tracking lines and discoloured look of old print matter. Would like to add that in 2018, the UK government mistakenly added a Scarfolk poster, Scarfolk being a fictional English town written in a blog by Richard Littler, considered to be part of hauntology due to his designs, in an issue of their magazine on the history of government communications. The poster read, "If you suspect your child has rabies, don't hesitate to shoot." I'd recommend to read it. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good read, named Discovering Scarfolk. The next aesthetic, Lunarpunk. Lunarpunk emerges from solarpunk that envisions an optimistic future. I'm seeing a pattern here. Finding out a lot of cool aesthetics emerge from this hope for a future which is sustainable. What differs Lunarpunk from everything else is the focus on nocturnal, spiritual and individualistic aspects of society, serving as a complementary opposite of solarpunk, like the yin to its yang. The aesthetic explores a world that thrives at night, illuminated by moonlight, starlight and a lot of bioluminescence. It emphasises a deep connection with more mysterious elements of nature, such as fungi, moths and the deep sea. It's really interesting, I like it a lot. Lunarpunk provides a darker, more introspective counterpart to the bright communal vision of solarpunk. The relationship between the two can be understood through a series of comparisons. If solarpunk is the sun, Lunarpunk is the moon. If solarpunk is the day, Lunarpunk is the night. Thematically, Lunarpunk shifts the focus from the large-scale societal solutions of solarpunk to the personal and individual journey. It emphasises spirituality, music, and the occult over the hard science and technology often seen in solarpunk. While solarpunk often depicts bustling, collaborative communities, lunarpunk is more suited for introverts, loners, and those who find meaning in quiet, cryptic, or mysterious ways. Visually, lunarpunk relies on natural glowing light sources. The colour palette is dark, with deep blues, purples, silvers, and blacks, which are punctuated by the soft, radiant glow of bioluminescent life. The architecture is organic and often integrated with nature, such as glowing mushroom-inspired homes or structures built from living wood, designed to be in harmony with the nocturnal environment. Unlike most aesthetics, I was able to find some sort of fashion in lunarpunk. The colour palette is dark, as I mentioned earlier, the fashion being mystical and elegant, drawing inspiration from Morute and Strago fashion, favouring dark, flowing garments made of sustainable materials such as silk, velvet, and organic cotton, proving incredibly expensive. Clothing often contains celestial motifs, such as moons and stars, or references to nocturnal creatures, such as moths and fireflies. So cute! Common elements include long cloaks, hooded robes, and delicate silver jewellery. Sorry, gold girlies. The overall style is more spiritual and enigmatic, which also contrasts with the practical, utilitarian style seen in solarpunk. Also read Bioluminescent, a Lunarpunk anthology, made in 2023 by Justine Norton-Kurtzen, Neil Gaiman, and Serena Ulibarri. Maybe wait for the second edition because Neil Gaiman has received SA allegations. Final aesthetic, Morute. Morute combines the words morbid and cute. You know, Morute. So I'm sure you can gather what the aesthetic is about. This aesthetic was created in the early 2010s and shows the dichotomy between femininity and girlhood and true crime and slight gothic elements. In the community, users often use it as an outlet for expressing trauma, especially those surrounding eating disorders and child abuse. Many visuals suggest physical abuse, sexual assault/molestation, emotional abuse, self-destruction, religious trauma, and physical disability. The childlike imagery serves as a desire to return to a girlhood that was ripped away from them, with the Christian, angelic, and cute motifs being an idealization of purity and innocence. Religious guilt is a common motif, with the desire to go to heaven but feeling unable due to the victim being dirtied with whatever traumatized them. The idea of dirtiness and rot is a common theme. The aesthetic has largely fallen out of popularity due to the current notoriety of traumacore, mental recovery of many influences, and discourse surrounding the romanticisation of dark themes. The community itself does not emphasise the necessity of actually having trauma. Many simply are visually attracted to the contrast between cutesy, girly, childish aesthetics with dark, creepy, gothic aesthetics. Morute as a community in Tumblr during 2014 involved a number of bloggers who would photograph the visuals associated with the subject. I'm going to quickly go over them. They are Christianity, angels and cherubs, crosses and crucifixes, other religious stuff, abandoned and decaying houses, outdated feminine features, graveyards, non-destroyed pastel suburban houses with hazy photography, antique baby and children's paraphernalia, medical tools, asylums or hospitals, severe mutations, vulnerable prey or animals, bugs related to decay, blood, bruises and cuts, BDSM. Part of the community and the reason why the aesthetic looks the way it does is from the influences from other aesthetics similar to the beginning of Morute. For example, Tumblr has a large grunge community, which explains the link towards grunge music and the fashion style of Kinderhore, which is characterised by vintage nightgowns and tattered motifs. Dollcore, especially the darker side of it, also has a lot of influence on Morute, which leads to elements of J fashions like gothic Lolita in some Morute looks. The darker components of the aesthetic could come from Balkan Violence Tumblr, where male users posted photos of guns, soldiers, BDSM or bondage and blood. Would not recommend looking into it. Another darker community that often overlaps in motif was Nymphet, which also romanticises dangerous men. I mean, you can see why it's a bit controversial. As well as Baby Girl, which centres on the DDLG kink dynamic. I don't really know what that is and I don't want to know what it is. I heard of it and I decided to add it in because I felt like it... Maybe you guys know, but I don't, and I don't want to know. However, different community members disagreed on this and often came into conflict with themselves and others in the context of Morute being an aesthetic to engage and heal from trauma, rather than re-traumatizing themselves. In the late 2010s, the community began to wane in popularity because of many conflicts, as well as some photographers deactivating. This was likely because of hateful comments, but the exact reason is unknown. Another factor of the decline is that a community member was murdered by an ex-boyfriend in 2019. This made the aspects of Morute romanticising serial killers, age gaps, kidnapping, etc. more controversial. A different reason why some members moved on from Morute is that the claim of the aesthetic being a tool for moving on from trauma. With the users recovering, they would see less of a need to participate in the community, or they may realise that the aesthetic is harming their personal recovery and leave. Meanwhile, in the late 2010s, approximately 2018, traumacore became an aesthetic. Like Morute, this aesthetic draws from the juxtaposition between cute visuals and decay, and claims to be a tool to move past trauma. However, these aesthetics differ in many of their influences and visuals. Traumacore involves text edits, cartoon, and anime visuals. We're done with today's episode. This one might be a bit shorter. I'm so tired. I have done 2 GCSE exams, RE and biology, both paper 1, and I'm done. The bad news is, this will be the last long form video I post in a while. And I might work on a script or make something small, but you'll see me in the summer. But I'm coming back with a vengeance and higher quality, just you know.